to angle pairs, there are also line pairs. There are parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and also something called skew lines. So you've probably heard of perpendicular and parallel, but skew might be a little bit new for us. So the first thing we're going to talk about is parallel. So parallel lines are lines that do not intersect. Okay. So that definition might be something that you know already, but in addition to that, parallel lines have to be on the same plane. Okay. So they also must be on the same plane. So those are two properties of parallel lines. Okay. All of these examples, we're going to be, I'll draw a 3D shape, a cube, to help demonstrate all of these different types of line pairs. Okay. So if you can draw something on your paper. Square in the front, so that's going to be the front side. And then we also have a back square. And I'll just connect these two squares to make a cube. Okay, so this is going to be our cube. So all throughout the cube, there are lines that are parallel, there are perpendicular, and then later on we'll see that there are skew lines as well. Okay. So let's take a look at which lines on the cube would be parallel to each other. So let's first off label all our segments so it's easier for us to identify. Okay, so all of our points are identified. Now let's look at some parallel lines. So first we can pick a line, AB. And there are actually a bunch of lines that are parallel to it. One example of parallel lines would be AB, segment AB, and DC. So these two. Okay, so if you can see, if we extended those lines out, you would have lines that never intersect. The symbol for parallel is two vertical lines, and they'll look like two parallel lines. Okay. Another example would be AD and EH. So those would be also parallel lines. So AD is parallel to EH. So you can actually have more than one parallel lines that are parallel to each other. It doesn't have to just be a pair. It can be maybe four. So if we look around the shape, okay, AB is parallel to DC. Okay. You can have AB is parallel to GH. You can have AB is parallel to EF. Okay. So the way we can do this is we can write AE is parallel to DH. Sorry, let's see. So we were talking about these four lines, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So those are all never going to touch each other and on the same plane. So we have AB is parallel to DC, sorry. GH and EF. So you can have something like that. Most of the time you'll see mainly two lines that are parallel to each other, but you can have a possibility of four lines being parallel to each other. Okay. The way that we symbolize parallel on the diagram would be putting arrows on the lines. So these double arrow symbols mean that they are parallel. Okay. We also have perpendicular. So since this is a cube, we have a bunch of perpendicular intersections throughout the shape. Okay. Perpendicular means that they will intersect at 90 degrees. So right corners. Okay. On a diagram, you can tell if it's a 90 degree if we have a box, red box, right at the intersection. So this would indicate that it is 90 degrees. Okay. So since this is a cube, all our intersections here should be 90 degrees with another line. So let's see. We can see that AE and EH make a right angle. So I can write AE and EH. Okay, these lines are perpendicular, so the line symbol for perpendicular is an upside down T. Looks like a perpendicular intersection. Okay. Another example of a perpendicular intersection is BF and FG. Okay, in the back of the cube. So BF is perpendicular to FG. Or I can also put GF. One more example would be BC and DC. BC, DC. Now, from this angle, it doesn't look like it's a 90 degree angle, but since we are in 3D space, right, we know that it's just a little slanted, but since we know that this is a square on top, it's a 90 degree angle. Okay, so BC is perpendicular to DC. Okay. Finally, we have skew. Now, skew is similar to parallel, but the one key difference is that the lines are not on the same plane. So skew are lines that do not intersect. But they are on different planes. Okay. So let's give two examples of skew. So the first example of skew would be AD, this front horizontal line, with HG. AD and HG. So you can see that they're not on the same plane, but if you were to extend them out, they're never going to cross each other. They're just going to miss each other. Okay. There's no symbol for skew, so we're just going to write AD and HG are skew. Okay. And one other example of skew would be EF and GC. EF and GC. So again, you can see that if we extend these two lines out, they're never going to intersect, and they're not on the same plane. Okay. So EF and GC are skew. And those are the three line pairs we are presented: parallel, perpendicular,